from the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Call Cameron Riddle, make him harass the city. They'll get just as mad as him, but Cameron will get your job done.
WRTV is working for you and getting results. After years of complaints to the city, a house that neighbors say was only home to trouble is no longer standing at this hour. WRTV reporter Cameron Riddle has been reporting on these issues with this property for the past year.
Yeah, today he caught up with neighbors who are beyond pleased to see the house become history.
We've been fighting for 2 years to have it tore down. Cameron Riddle started the fight about a year ago with us. And finally this morning, they're actually tearing it down and keeping their word.
The neighbors on Harlan Street are very happy tonight. It has been an entire year since they first called me about what was a nuisance of a house. Katrina Cunningham reached out after finding used needles while walking her daughter to the school bus. She and other neighbors say the house at 2310 Harlan Street has been home to nothing but problems.
We had squatters in there. My daughter's bus stop is at the corner. We had kids going in and out and starting fires in there. It's been a headache, it's been a hassle, and it's been dangerous.
Cunningham and Robin Wood Gebhardt are two of the neighbors who have consistently called the city and WRTV in an effort to get this place knocked down. Over the past year, we've done a series of stories on this address, first after the needles were found, then after squatters returned to the house, which partially collapsed in a fire in 2018.
You never know what you're going to encounter when you walk out your front door.
After a lot of questions and persistence, today, the structure was finally demolished.
The house is finally coming down.
Neighbors say knocking down the house is an immediate improvement to the area they otherwise love.
The rest of our neighborhood's nice. Our street is really all homeowners. We take pride in our home, and this has really just made our neighborhood look ugly and like we don't care.
As you heard, one of the issues neighbors have complained about is people living or squatting inside of this house. I was talking with a construction worker here earlier this morning who said they did a walkthrough of the house, asking, yelling, making sure that there was no one inside of the property, and no one responded. But as soon as they started to knock down the back wall, they said a man came out the door saying he was still living inside and would need about an hour to get his stuff out. That just shows you how active this property was. On the south side, I'm Cameron Riddle, WRTV.
All right, if you have a similar problem in your neighborhood, before you call WRTV, try these resources. You can use the Citizen Access Portal to research permits and demolition or repair cases. You can also report issues to the Mayor's Action Center or the Request Indy app or website. If you feel like your complaints or concerns are not being heard, contact WRTV.
Now to the forecast. WRTV Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joins us now, helping you prepare for the day ahead. And Kevin, the weather's been so nice. No complaints here.
So no reason to complain, and tomorrow we step into a new season. I recommend this. Set your alarm for 9:30. That's technically when fall begins. Then you can have a ribbon cutting just to celebrate the moment. More of the same, though, as far as our weather's concerned. As far as hazy sunshine headlining tomorrow with temperatures in the 70s once again. The wind will be light out of the southwest. I'll mention this. We have a layer of some smoke from fires out west at about 15 to 20,000 feet. That will hang around tomorrow. That will bring the haze to the sky. Temperatures move already by noon to almost 70 degrees. Afternoon high a comfortable 77. That's with low humidity. That's the way we start fall. We'll look into the first weekend of fall and what that may bring coming up.
Tonight we are learning more about the brothers killed in a plane crash near Kokomo over the weekend. Liam and Reese Kelly lived in Carmel. Ava Henson lived in the same neighborhood as the teens before going off to college.
I got to know them and their family very well. They were always very welcoming and just opening, and always had the warmest smiles on their faces.
15-year-old Reese and 17-year-old Liam, along with the pilot, 63-year-old Gerald Long, died Sunday when their plane went down near the Glendale airport. This picture shows some of the aftermath from afar. Investigators say the boys loved flying. They were also members of their school's cross-country team, which put out this tweet to honor the young lives lost. Ava hopes the world remembers Liam and Reese for how they lived their lives.
I hope, one, people would just remember them as the loving people that they were and the hardworking and high achievers they were. Both of them were always so loving and caring to others.
Investigators say a third passenger on the plane, 17-year-old Cameron Wagler, survived the crash. He is recovering in the hospital. County and federal investigators are looking into the cause of that crash.
Investigators are waiting to release the identities of two people found dead in a burning home in rural Carroll County. Firefighters were called to the house on South State Road 29, about 1 mile north of Burlington, at around 9 o'clock this morning. Police say the victims are a man and a woman. Investigators are encouraging any witnesses to call the Carroll County Sheriff's Office at 765-564-2413.
One man is facing a preliminary battery charge after a fight on the east side. At least 3 people were injured, including the suspect who was shot by an IMPD officer. Police say when they got to the scene on Pleasant Run Parkway yesterday, gunshots were being fired in multiple directions. Investigators say at one point the suspect pointed a weapon at police, prompting the officer to shoot him. That man has since been released from the hospital and is under arrest. Police say he and another suspect also shot 2 women. It's unclear how badly they are hurt.
How well does the city handle your complaints about IMPD officers? That's what Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett wants to know. He's encouraging the public to take part in a survey of the Citizens Police Complaint Office. That office investigates allegations of improper conduct by police. Mayor Hogsett's office says your input will help shape the future of the CPCO. The survey is available through October 4th. You can find a link by clicking on this story at our website, WRTV.com.
For more than a year, WRTV Investigates has been following controversy within the Northwest Hendricks School Corporation. School leaders have faced criticism for how they handled sexual misconduct allegations involving a student and a teacher. 3 candidates are challenging 2 incumbents for 2 open school board seats in Northwest Hendricks. The challengers are David Pyatt, Abby Morgan, and Joe Brooks. The incumbents, Jim D'Agostino and Craig Peoples, have been criticized for removing public comments from board meetings and not taking swifter action involving misconduct involving Tri-West employees. All 3 challengers say they want to make changes and improve transparency and communication between the board and the community. WRTV will be talking to all 3 challengers live on the WRTV Facebook page and the WRTV app on Wednesday at 5 p.m. The incumbents have not agreed to join us.
Tomorrow is National Voter Registration Day. There will be several opportunities to register across central Indiana. Ivy Tech will host a drive-through voter registration event from 9 to 6 at the campus on Fall Creek Parkway. You can register to vote, update your existing registration, check your registration status, or request an absentee ballot. Ivy Tech asks that all participants wear a mask. If you cannot make tomorrow's event, another will be held on October 2nd. And the nonpartisan organization Go Vote Indy is hosting a voter registration drive starting at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening at the Hi-Fi Annex on St. Patrick Street in Fountain Square. To vote in November, you must register by October 5th. For everything you need to know ahead of the general election, go to Vote in 2020 digital section of our website, WRTV.com. There, you'll find who's on your ballot, how early and absentee voting works, and much more.
Early voting is underway in several states. People are flocking to the polls and mailing in their ballots with 2 pressing issues in mind. ABC's Andrew Dimbert is tracking the latest on the race for the White House.
With just a little over 6 weeks until the November election, 2 issues in 2020 could tip the scales and ultimately decide who wins the White House.
So we're going to put up our nominee who's going to be outstanding. We're looking at 5 incredible jurists, 5 incredible people.
After the passing of iconic liberal Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, President Trump is vowing to fill her seat before Election Day.
Probably Saturday we will announce the nominee, and it's somebody that you're going to have great respect for. Great respect. Thank you. Thank you. Big stuff.
A decision to pick a new justice impacting voters with early voting already underway in some states.
Definitely a little bit of a factor, yeah.
Another issue facing voters, the president's coronavirus response, which polls show is a weak spot for him. With the COVID death toll in the U.S. nearing 200,000, Joe Biden leveling new attacks on Trump, telling voters in Wisconsin the president panicked in the face of crisis.
Due to Donald Trump's lies and incompetence in the past 6 months, have seen one of the gravest losses of American life in history.
But the president steadfast in his defense since the outbreak hit American soil. Asked in an interview with veteran journalist Bob Woodward back in July what grade he gives himself in handling the pandemic, the president provided this answer.
I give ourselves an A. But the grade is incomplete, and I'll tell you why. If we come up with the vaccines and therapeutics, then I give myself an A+.
And ABC News has learned that President Trump met with conservative federal judge Amy Coney Barrett. She is widely considered to be the frontrunner for that vacant Supreme Court seat. Andrew Dimber, ABC News, Washington.
A hearing is scheduled for next Tuesday in a case involving a Greenfield Headstone company. The Indiana Attorney General's office has filed a lawsuit against the company following a WRTV investigation. We first told you about Greenfield Granite last month after grieving families told us they paid for memorials they did not receive. The lawsuit accuses the company of violating the Indiana Deceptive Consumer Sales Act by taking money from families and failing to deliver headstones and refunds. And some headstones were done incorrectly. The AG's office is seeking more than $20,000 in restitution for customers.
There are a lot of consumers in Hancock County and Greenfield that have reached out and indicated they've been harmed by this company. And not to say that we're at the trial phase in terms of the proof phase, but those allegations we take very seriously at the Consumer Protection Division, and we want to make sure that if we need to, we can move very quickly.
For now, a court says Greenfield Granite cannot remove or dispose of any property. The owner of the company died by suicide earlier this month. However, the Attorney General's office says they still have ways to help resolve consumer complaints. WRTV Investigates is working on getting a response from Greenfield Granite.
WRTV's Hiring Hoosiers is teaming up with the Indiana Black Expo to provide you with links to job opportunities, resume building, and honing your interview skills. Tomorrow, we're hosting a virtual Hiring Hoosiers Employment Opportunity Fair. It starts at noon. Many companies will take part, including FedEx, First Merchants Bank, Indianapolis Airport Authority, Lowe's, and many more. For more information on that, go to hiringhoosiers.com. And today, I moderated an IBE Hiring Hoosiers webinar called Preparing for Job Interviews in the Virtual Environment. Human resources experts led virtual presentations for people to learn about crafting a resume, preparing for virtual job interviews, identifying your professional strengths and weaknesses, and efficiently launching a job search. They stressed the importance of a positive outlook and attitude, being honest both on paper and during your interview, and using action words when writing a resume. If you missed the webinar and you would like to see it, we have it posted on hiringhoosiers.com and at indianablackexpo.com.
The argument was that AOL, Netscape, they were the bulletin board. People had to bring their own tack and pen.
Coming up, the rise of social media is putting a more than 2-decade-old law under a microscope.
And the Colts' win on Sunday came with some big losses, where the team goes from here after injuries to key players. Tropical storm Beta is close to making landfall off the Texas coast. The damage is already done in many areas. ABC's Elwin Lopez reports from Galveston.
It has literally been crazy as far as the storms down here.
More than 10 million people under warning.
We've had tropical storms put 3 foot of water in that little house right there. Direct hurricane we had put 7 foot of water in there. But so far, it's about a foot from getting in there right now.
The storm bringing relentless waves, battering beaches, damaging docks, and tearing off a portion of this fishing pier. In Surfside, Texas, some neighborhoods completely flooded. Officials issuing voluntary evacuations along low-lying areas.
People seem to have taken heed of that order, and hopefully this will be the worst of it.
But in Freeport, some storm-weary Texans are riding this one out.
Total devastation. it would take that to make us leave.
The Texas governor issuing a disaster declaration for counties along the Gulf Coast. The slow-moving pace of this storm could hit coastal areas with 15 inches of rain and up to 4 feet of storm surge. That could halt recovery efforts in parts of Louisiana ravaged after Hurricane Laura just weeks ago.
This continues to be a very, very slow-moving storm. We'll be dealing with this for the next day or two.
Beta is expected to be a rainmaker for days, threatening parts also not only here on the coast, but northeast. Elwin Lopez, ABC News, Galveston.
As you heard, they mentioned in the story, slow-moving storm. Currently, it's moving at 3 miles per hour. It will come onshore overnight. There's the rain around Houston and then southern portions of Louisiana. Let me show you how this makes some progress, slow progress to the north and east, but still, once you get to Thursday, it's only at the Mississippi-Louisiana state line. For us, bottom line is this will stay well south of central Indiana, and our rain chances minimal from that system. I'll put this in motion. You'll watch it play out through tomorrow, Wednesday into Thursday, and you can see the rain swirling in Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. Not a factor for the Hoosier State. We could have a shower in the southern portion of Indiana Thursday, but I'd put the chance of that at 20%. What's the best chance for rain in my forecast? Saturday and Sunday, 30 to 40% chance. But again, I don't see it as a widespread soaking rain, which is very needed across central Indiana. Here's the weekend progress. To the northwest, you'll see a little cold front start to develop. That will have some showers, maybe a thunderstorm along it. And you go early morning Sunday, it's kind of falling apart as it moves to the south and east. That's what I'm talking about, not being widespread soaking rain. Back to our Tuesday, back to the arrival of fall. Much like the last several days, we start comfortably in the 40s. Afternoon temperatures move into the 60s. Again, the hazy sunshine, the haze, kind of that smoke layer higher up in the atmosphere from the western fires. Temperatures about average. The wind will be light and in the upper 70s once again. Wednesday, we'll see more cloud cover, especially in the afternoon. Temperatures modestly warmer, maybe a degree or two warmer. That's really about it. The temperatures from north to south right in the middle of the week. Upper 70s to around 80. Metro area temperature in Indy at 78. Temperatures to the south, not much different. I think our warmest temperature, and not by much, will arrive on Saturday. That's when we introduce a 30% chance for a shower or thunderstorm. A little better chance for rain on the second half of the weekend. Then we turn even cooler next week. Monday, 30% chance of rain and 73. But it is weird, isn't it, to say there it is, the first weekend of fall now in sight as we change seasons tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Kevin. The Colts will be looking to start a winning streak on Sunday when they play the Jets at Lucas Oil Stadium. Indy will take the field without some key players, though. Our Brad Brown explains as the injury bug hit teams around the league hard, the Colts were not immune.
It's hard to say if a crowd of 2,500 is home field advantage, but the Colts seem to have an extra bit of energy at home for week 2. But amid all of Sunday's success comes a couple of tough losses to the roster. Wide receiver Paris Campbell, who missed so much of 2019 with at least 4 different injuries, was carted off the field in the first quarter. A knee ligament injury, but the team is leaving the door open for a return for Campbell later this season.
We're going to just continue to evaluate his injury, really to make the determination on his status. So we'll leave that up to the doctors. Not sure if he's going to need a procedure yet, but we'll defer to our doctors and training staff there. And then obviously with Hook, with Malik, unfortunately he did have an Achilles injury that will end the season. You know, obviously I just talked to Malik a little bit ago. Feel awful for him. He was really, had a great offseason and was playing well.
Now some good news. Tight end Mo Alley-Cox proved to be a worthy next man up with Jack Doyle out. His first look of the game was a miscue that led to a Vikings interception, but no harm done when the Colts D made a stand. After that, it was only positive momentum, with Phillip Rivers finding Mo over and over.
Going out, just working hard every day. I mean, since the day I got back, just getting a bunch of reps at whatever he asked me to do. So this week, had a good week of practice, and we made a bunch of those same plays in practice, and we just try to carry it over to the game.
Well, Mo,
obviously had a little slight start to training camp and just working his way back from an injury. But Mo's a big man. I mean, he's a big man in street clothes. You see him in uniform, and he stands out.
The other spark came from rookie runner Jonathan Taylor. After a record-setting career at Wisconsin, we knew he could handle the workload. We found out Sunday that he was up to the task of getting the yards here as well.
Kind of have to have that focus and understand, like, hey, I mean, you got to make sure you're on point every single play. And all you got to do is do it one play at a time. You don't need to think, about the previous play. You don't need to think about, the next play, the next 2 plays. All you got to do is worry about the play that you're in, do your job that play, and if you do it every play, then you should be in good hands.
Allie Cox and Taylor each went over 100 yards on Sunday. The last time the Colts had a 100-yard rusher and receiver in the same game. How about December 2010? Joseph Adai and Pierre Garçon against Washington. A certain guy named Peyton was quarterback then. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Social media plays a major role in how many people get their information, whether it's true or false. Scripps reporter Chris Stewart explains how a law passed before the creation of Facebook and Twitter protects those sites.
Lie spreads faster than the truth.
Information can be hard to trust these days.
Don't take it at face value.
Eric Feinberg works to understand the online world's impact on our real one with the group Coalition for a Safer Web.
Social media is about not listening to what other people are saying, but how can I attack that person on what they said?
Sites like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube have ramped up efforts to remove fake news. Some think they should be held legally responsible, but a law that's been called the most important for the internet prevents that.
So there's a 1996 law from the last century that says no matter what's posted on your platforms, you're not responsible. That was before social media.
The law is in Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act and gives sites like Facebook and Twitter the right to moderate what people post. It also protects them from being held legally responsible for what's posted on their platforms, even if it is a conspiracy theory or misinformation.
The argument was that AOL, Netscape, they were the bulletin board. People had to bring their own tack and pen. Now, the social media companies, because of the algorithmic amplification and other things they do, they're not the bulletin board. They're the bulletin board, the paper pack, and the pen they're giving you.
Both presidential candidates want Section 230 removed, but for different reasons. President Trump feels it gives social media companies the ability to unfairly censor conservative voices. Vice President Biden told the New York Times social media companies should not be exempt from being sued for misinformation posted on their platforms.
The most common, of course, is that this whole thing is a hoax.
Dr. Ryan Stanton has seen the real-world impact misinformation is having from his Kentucky hospital.
I've had several people that have had to be admitted to the hospital, ICU, intubated, those types of things, who up until right before coming into the hospital still felt like that this virus wasn't a big deal.
Doctors say when it comes to COVID-19, go beyond the post to the source.
I think that the things that we would look for are things that are peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed publications tend to be ones that can be trusted. In addition, local health departments.
Check out who you're dealing with. Check the name, look at the profile. You can see that they've got very little social media activity where they're from, and basically these were created for nothing more than to be distributed through news feeds.
Feinberg's biggest advice is don't let yourself get lost.
Yeah, put the phone down and enjoy life. Get off your phone and look around you, and don't believe everything you see on social media.
If you sleep in past 9:30, then you'll wake up and it will be fall. Temperature 77 Tuesday afternoon, upper 70s, still dry Wednesday and Thursday. Mark?
All right, Kevin, thank you. Fall's coming. Hey, thanks for making WRTV your choice for news. GMI head your way at 4:30. We hope you have a great night, everybody.